I often hear mentions about how martials are resourceless in discussions about martials versus casters, and believe me, those discussions come up a lot. I imagine you guys have seen a bunch of them too. The idea of this advantage about martials is that in long adventuring days, they are as strong at the end as they are at the start of the adventuring day, because they cannot run out of resources. This is super duper wrong if you actually believe that. And it should be very obvious. So let me explain it to you. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where martials have advantage until they die. And that is exactly the problem. But Cobalt, what do you mean? Casters have cantrips which they can use at any time, and other spells which require them to use their resources. Martials, on the other hand, have no or very little resources, which affects their gameplay. They just attack. And I hope they do it well. Sometimes people don't pick up the power feats. Anyways, by itself, being resourceless is sometimes something which is highly valued in the community, like rogues. But it's really not something worth pursuing by itself. Let me give you an example. Here is Mr. Crocodile. He has the ability to attack once with a sword. That's it. Then we have Gator with the ability to attack once with a sword for the same amount of damage and to hit, but also has one spell slot to cast Fireball. Obviously, Gator is strictly superior to the basic Crocodile that is resourceless. So we cannot say that being resourceless is a quality that by itself is good to have. It needs to be something more. Also, remember, this is just an example. There are not many situations where you can so easily say that one thing is stronger than the other, though that does not mean it's not the case. So what is required to make resourceless a good quality to have? Well, without resources, you should be at least as strong as the option that does use resources. Otherwise, what is even the point? If you always have 5 turns of combat a day, and Timmy is a hypothetical rogue, and always does an extra 1d6 damage on a hit, and Tommy has 5 dice, which he can use once per hit to add 1d6 damage, they are then equal. If Tommy does any more, or Timmy does any less, being resourceless would be stronger in this situation. Is this the case in 5e? Can we say that across an adventuring day, a martial that doesn't have resources and a caster that does have resources come out equal? Is this even feasible? There are not many tables that require casters to expend all their resources, which means that the caster can expend more resources to become more powerful. At this point, you will often hear, "But Cobalt, you can do more combats a day, as that will make casters eventually run out of resources." Alright, let's say at some hypothetical point in an adventuring day, the casters run out of their precious spell slots. What does this mean? It means that you have done a lot of combat to dry them off their wealthy spring of resources. When does a caster need to spend resources? Well, if the combat calls for it. That is to say that the combat was in some sense difficult. But anyways, what happens to martials in this case? Well, they take damage. You either play at a table where the DM chooses to attack the martial tanks because the martial tanks want to play a tank. Or you play at a table where the DM chooses their targets based on some other criteria. A common one I hear is the most squishy targets. Now, I would like to refer you guys to an article by Tabletop Builds called The Squishy Caster Fallacy, which I'll link down below. To summarize, casters are more sturdy than martials. Who would have thunk? But really, they are. Please read the article before I move on. Anyways, dice. Gator, what are you doing? Cobalt, I'm summoning the dice gods! Well done, you're in luck, Gator. This video is sponsored by Only Crits, who are the masters of summoning. Gator, to be honest, your ritual sucks. The dice went everywhere. If you had a hexagon core dice tray, it would have been successful. Wow! Magical summoning tray! But there's more. Look, chromatic blood dice. They are pretty. The description says the blood was drawn from wizards right before they turned themselves into fleshless liches. Another powerful tool for summoning. It's so strong, in fact, that you can summon a whole written adventure for free with the purchase. And you can summon your friends over to play. Wow, you weren't kidding that they were masters of summoning. Correct, and you can find all the tools you need at onlycrits.com/packtactics. And if you like what you see, then you could get some dice yourself. Use the code PACKTACTICS for 12% discount. Back to the video. If the casters are attacked as many times as the martials, or the martials are prioritized, the martials are dying faster than the casters. If the casters are prioritized, they are still so sturdy they are unlikely to die quickly. As mentioned before, these should be difficult fights. Why else would you be spending precious resources? And finally, that brings me to the most important resource of all. And everyone has them, even the proclaimed resourceless martials. It's called hit points, in the form of hit dice and the one in your HP bar. These claims are so stupid. The hit dice is right in the middle of your character sheet, and you track your HP every single session. So calling a martial resourceless is ridiculous. If we have a short adventuring day, the casters are not running out of their resources, neither spell slots or hit points. Whereas in a long adventuring day, martials run out of hit points faster than casters run out of their resources, which means they die. If you run out of hit dice, then you can't heal on a short rest anymore. You, the rogue, clearly ran out of resources. Really, the amount of combats needed to get casters to run out of resources is a lot. The way their most powerful spells work just debilitates enemies so much that damage is minimized. And further resource expenditure is no longer required. The concentration spell usually lasts 10 rounds. This allows them to move on to using their at-will abilities, namely cantrips, which are not even that much worse than the damage output of most martial builds, who don't have the power attack feats. Like really, just consider it in your upcoming sessions. Am I spending resources because I need to, or because I can? The martial and caster disparity is a real thing, and you don't need to look deep to find it. The combination of abundant of powerful resources and sturdiness in casters is one of the biggest reasons why there's a disparity. End of video. Buy some dice from OnlyCrits, they're cool. And also, I hope to earn your subscription. I want to level up. Anyways, I'm going to bed now. Good night.